What's going on, guys? This is Mr. Teej 66's movie reviews. I am Mr. Teej 66. Continuing my series of Mission Impossible film movie reviews. Today, I will be reviewing Mission Impossible 3, directed by J.J. Abrams and, of course, starring Tom Cruise. The plot concerns Ethan Hunt searching for an arms dealer played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's basically got his hand, or is going to get his, wants to get his hands on something called the Rabbit's Foot, which is basically like a biological weapon. And they never really explain what it is. It's basically the MacGuffin of the film, and action ensues, and this movie is a lot of fun. It is most definitely an improvement over Mission Impossible 2, which, the pace just flagged in the first half of that movie. I did a whole review of that, so I'm not going to go into it, but this movie is lightning fast. In fact, I would go out on a limb and say this is probably the fastest paced of any of the Mission Impossible films, including the more recent ones. It literally never stops to take a breath. It's just on and on and on, action, action, action. Thankfully, the action is pretty well choreographed. A lot, clearly can clearly see what's going on. Surprisingly violent for a PG-13 movie. I mean, they get away with a lot of gruesome stuff in this movie that, it's like, what, 12 years old, so it's not too old, but I was like, damn. Tom Cruise is, as always, completely committed to the role. He feels more like the character of the first film, just an agent who's very committed to his job, but still feels human. His relationship with Michelle Monaghan, I'm sorry, I pronounced her name wrong, is very nicely done. He's basically about to get married, and, the movie brings it up quite a bit that he can't ever have a normal life, and there's sufficient chemistry between them. I thought it was nice. It's just nice to see that he is a human being in this movie, versus Mission Impossible 2, where he felt like an invulnerable Superman, superhero basically. So they definitely go back to the spirit of the original film in some ways. Michelle Monaghan is also, she's cute and she does a good job with what she's given. She does have some kick-ass action moments toward the end, so big props to that. Ving Rhames, always a blast to see him. That man's got the coolest voice in movies, and he's given some humor, thankfully. Which again, in the last film, he had all of his humor was stripped away, and it's nice to see him actually get some stuff to do. Billy Crudup is in the movie, plays sort of a liaison or whatever, and he does a solid job. Lawrence Fishburne plays, the head of the IMF. Dude, it's Lawrence Fishburne. That man can make just like Ving Rhames. He has just the coolest voice. He can make anything sound badass. So this movie is, brainless entertainment, but brainless entertainment done well. The only the movie is flawed. The pace is very fast. In fact, sometimes it's a little too quickly paced. You really don't have a chance to think about, well, wait a minute, does this make sense? It can get kind of tiring, a little bit tiring after a while. Thankfully, the movie's only about 2 hours, so it isn't too much of an issue. The cinematography, I'm also not a big fan of. He desaturates the colors, and this very muted color scheme, and I'm not a big fan of that. It's very ugly to look at sometimes. And some of the other team members aren't really given that much backstory. Like, Simon Pegg makes his debut in this movie as Benji, and he's given some funny lines, but he really has only a small part in the film, but obviously his part gets expanded in later films, but he's funny for what he's given. Maggie Q is also very good. Jonathan Rhys Davies, I'm probably saying his name right. I'm getting him confused with the guy who plays Gimli, but, they all do good jobs, but their characters are kind of a little underdeveloped. You don't really know much about them. I think the last couple Mission Impossible films have done a better job in giving them, the supporting characters more meat to work with. But overall, this is a very fun action movie. Definitely worth repeat viewings. I would give it probably an 8 out of 10. Totally solid. J.J. Abrams is making his feature film debut. And one other flaw is that some of the shots feel a little TV-ish, because he had just come from television since his feature film debut. So, some of the shots feel very television-esque, a lot of close-ups. Sometimes it's kind of noticeable, but for the most part, he does a pretty solid job. And obviously his style got much better as his films continued, like hit the Star Trek films and Super 8 and various others. But yeah, overall, I give this movie probably an 8 out of 10. It's a pretty fun time, so if you're looking for a brainless action movie, hey, this is a pretty fun, solid entry in that genre. Anyway, that's it. Hopefully, I'll be talking to you guys tomorrow about Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. This is Mr. T6666, and I will see you next time.